So again, welcome to Hope College and the latest presentation of the Meijer Lecture Series. This is number 5. The Meijer Lecture Series was established in 2008 through the support of the Meijer Foundation and the Joint Archives of Holland. This event highlights experiences of family-owned businesses that have had a historical impact on West Michigan. Today we will hear about the history of 80 Bos Vending Services. 80 Bos Vending Services Company was founded in 1940 by Alvin D. Bos, who retired in 1972. Thomas G. Bos, his son, led the company from 1972 until 1997. Thomas J. Bos, on the end, Alvin's grandson and Thomas G's son, has been president since 1997. Founded on the principle that service is paramount, 80 Bos provides green vending technology and healthy vending programs to help employees work and live better. Tom G. Bos is a native of Holland, is married to Jane, and has 4 adult children. He earned a BA degree from Hope College and an MA from Western Michigan University in education. With his education degree, he taught science and math at West Ottawa High School. I don't know how many people knew that. Tom joined the family business in 1966 after only 5 years of teaching. I can't imagine why. Maybe you can talk about that a little bit.
I love teaching.
Oh, good. Today he is the chairman of the board of 80 Bos Vending Services Company, Inc. Thomas has served, as many of you know, on many civic organizations and boards, which include, here's the list, Rotary Club of Holland, Holland Arts Council, Junior Achievement of Holland, Holland Area Campfire Council, Holland JCs, Holland Flotilla of the U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary, Holland Historical Trust, Holland Downtown Development Association, Third Reformed Church, Holland Chamber of Commerce, Small Business Association of Michigan, Michigan Distributors Vendors Association, and New Brunswick Theological Education or Seminary. He was named Holland Small Business Person of the Year in 1994 and Michigan Small Business Person of the Year in 1995. Tom has also been to India 3 times to immunize children against polio through Rotary. Mm-hmm. Tom J. Bos is also a Holland native and is married to Lori and has 3 adult children. Well, one's in college. He's almost there. Tom earned a BS from Miami, Ohio. His 30-plus year career at 80 Bos includes route specialist, route manager, operation manager in 1996, and president in 1997. His civic activities include Leadership Holland and past Greater Ottawa County United Board member. His current professional memberships include serving on the board of the Michigan Distributors and Vendors Association. Tom G. Bos will begin the program and will be followed by Tom J. Tom G.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah.
I would like to begin by thanking Hope College, Abby and Mark for setting this up and inviting us to do this. This is an honor for us, and we are very appreciative and thankful for that opportunity. So to begin this presentation, I have an official clicker on my right, and yeah, if you will,
you ready?
see if it works. Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
There we go. Now, how many people remember? How many of you went through Holland High School? And do you, if you went to Holland High in the 60s and 70s, that picture will look familiar to you because at one time, I think for about 16 years, we did all the food service for Holland High School, and even at one time for the middle school, the junior high school at that time. And that picture is that's really where the company had its first, one of its first installations with full line vending. And I'll go back and tell you how we got that far, how we got to this location. But what, that's Judy Van Eerden, by the way, at the vending machine. The machines, one was hot and one was cold. It was food machines. Each bank of equipment, there are 2 of them, one in each academic unit. There was an attendant behind those machines, and they would fill those machines up as fast as they emptied out the front. One of those machines was refrigerated for cold sandwiches, salad sandwiches, apples, stuff like that, oranges. And the one on the right was really an oven that kept everything hot. And we had a bank of, this is before microwaves, So we had infrared ovens. You have to be around a long time to remember infrared ovens. But that was the predecessor to microwaves. And the attendant would heat up a dozen hot dogs at a time or 9 hamburgers and then load them in from the back as fast as the kids would buy them from the front. That's a little digression from my history. Next slide, please. The reason the Bos family is here is my great-grandfather, his older brother, Peter, immigrated to the United States he was here by at least 1846, maybe even earlier than that. He immigrated to Chicago. And Peter helped dig the Michigan-Illinois Canal, which doesn't exist anymore, but it's been replaced. But it was the first attempt to join navigation from the Great Lakes to the river system that empties out into the Gulf of Mexico. So when the canal was done, when they finished digging that, Peter, by that time, learned that there was a Dutch settlement here on the shores of Lake Michigan. So he moved up here. He was a bachelor. He moved up here and homesteaded property on Riley Street. I know exactly where he did that. And then he sent for his younger brother, Tunis, who is my great-grandfather. Tunis came and homesteaded property right next door to his brother Peter's place on Riley Street. Next slide, please. Now, when the Dutch first arrived here, this was all forest. And so the very first industry actually was lumbering. The land had to be cleared. There were mills around, lumber mills around Lake Macataw. And the lumber, for the most part, went to Chicago. And as the land got, and I think those first couple of years, the Dutch actually, the immigrants here lived off the land. There used to be panther and turkeys and pheasants and all kinds of wildlife in those woods. And I think that's what was their main protein source other than fish. But after the land started to be cleared, they were able to start raising crops and raising domestic farm animals. And with that, as you had an agricultural base developing, you had to have a way to transport the agricultural products. And so everyone, they call them teamsters, the guys that drove the horses, teams of horses with carts for hauling goods around. And in my family, back in the Bos family, they were hauling beer. There were several breweries in Holland at one time. I do remember there was one on 10th Street when I was growing up as a boy. It was no longer functioning, but I remember where that brewery was. And so at first, before they started putting beer in cans, which came, I think, in the 30s, most beer was delivered to taverns in kegs and in barrels. And so my family was delivering stuff. And it seems that a lot of the Dutch were pretty good teamsters because there were several trucking companies at one time operating out of Holland. Holland Motor Express was based here in Holland. And in the Chicago area, the teamsters were collecting garbage and became very successful at doing that. The next slide, please. So what we have here is a little more than 100 years ago, the family was, one of the things they were doing was delivering beer. And then my Uncle Bill, my father was the youngest in a family of 6 children. And one of his older brothers, Bill, married a Van Tungeren. Now, people my age associate the Ventungrans with the wooden shoe factory. And the wooden shoe factory originally was on River Avenue. It's on River between the printing companies there, so between 4th and 3rd. And they sold a lot of souvenirs. But before that, they made cigars. They made Knickerbocker cigars. In the museum, there is a box that says Knickerbocker cigars on them. Well, that was Ventungrans. Every town had just like every town had at least one brewery, every town also had a tobacco shop. And you might ask yourself, why did every town have to have a tobacco shop? And the reason is that cigars and tobacco products had to stay fresh. And before cellophane, now cellophane was invented before 1800, but it really, before 1900, but it was really never used to wrap cigars in until 1927. They first started doing that in Florida, and then gradually everyone started wrapping their cigars in cellophane. But before that, you had to keep these cigars fresh. And so the tobacco leaf would be shipped up here and rolled into cigars, and then it had to be kept sold soon after that. And when I was growing up, the way they kept those cigars moist is when I was growing up, I remember in just about every gas station and bar, and I didn't spend much time in bars when I was growing up, but the company got me in there. I mean, we delivered tobacco products to the bars. But in the bars and the restaurants, they all had a cash register on top of a glass case. And underneath the glass case was all the cigars. Now, what you might not realize is that under all that was a pan, which originally was for holding water with a light bulb. That case was a humidor. That's how they kept the cigars fresh. And now, when I was a kid, they weren't keeping them fresh that way anymore, but everyone still used those cases. So Bill married a Ventungran, and keep in mind the family's already delivering beer all over the place. It was just a natural thing. Why don't we just sell cigars to these same customers? And so cigars, and later on, candy bars, other things that restaurants, bars, gas stations wouldn't need. I don't think they sold much beer at gas stations. But anyway, we had a lot of street locations. If we could go on to by the way, can you back up?
Sure.
Yes, on the left side of that picture is a part of a Knickerbocker cigar box. Somehow we only got just a partial image of that. Okay, next. This picture, I think, was taken probably around 1930. The trucks, it's the Bos Tobacco and Candy Company. This was the company that preceded the 80 Bos Company. The Bos Tobacco and Candy Company was my Uncle Bill's, and it included most of the family, just about the whole family, and brothers-in-laws all worked for the Bos Tobacco and Candy Company, and they supplied West Michigan with confectionery and tobacco products. There you see 3 of the vehicles. That house was located on 8th Street across from where the post office is today. And if you look at that house, the office, well, several things I can point out to you. The gentleman in the top left, far left, the taller gentleman, I'm quite sure my father. And the next to him, I'm quite sure that's my Uncle Gus, who married one of my dad's sisters. You notice on the house there's a billboard that says Blatz. And that's left over from when we were selling beer. However, at some point, well, when did Prohibition start? 1919, about? Anyway, when Prohibition came in, the brewery switched it over to soft drinks. And so that sign, if you enlarge it and look real carefully at it, it doesn't say Blatz beer. It says Blatz flavored beverages, soft drinks. And so after Prohibition, we were delivering soft drinks. We, over time, dropped that. Soft drinks are, with all due respect to the Brooks, soft drinks are mostly water, it's heavy, and it was so much easier to sell a box of cigars, a box of candy. You could put a lot of those in a truck and sell a lot of that. So the company evolved with the changing demographics and time to just selling confectionery and tobacco. And as I say, this picture was probably taken around 1930, judging from the age of the trucks. But the Blatz soft drink sign is still on the building. By the way, I remember when I was a child, we still had the cooler where they used to keep the kegs of beer and some of the Blatz signage that was stored in the warehouse. And now, so in the 1930s, the company prospered. Economists will tell you that there's two things that do very well when times are hard, and that's alcohol and tobacco. My parents actually built a house in the middle of the Depression. Labor is 50 cents an hour. My father attended Hope College his freshman year in 1929, and the Depression hit, and he went to work for his Uncle Bill, his brother Bill, my uncle, and did very well. About that time, so someplace in there, Social Security came in, and I have one of the payroll records, ledgers, of that era. And I noticed that one of the highest paid salesmen was my father. So we did okay until World War II broke out. Then we have a couple of problems. One is there was no sugar. So sugar was rationed. There wasn't much candy to sell. And tobacco products, the military had prior claim on all tobacco products. And there was tobacco to be sold, but you never knew when it might come in, because everything shipped with the mobilization for war, everything was shipped by rail, and there weren't enough boxcars. So everything shipped on a priority basis based on the needs for the war effort. And I can assure you that candy bars and cigarettes for the civilian sector was not very high on that war priority list. So we never knew during the war when we might get some product in to sell. And my father would, the phone might go off in the evening, the phone, and they'd say, Al, you've got a boxcar full of cigarettes here at the depot, and you have to get those out of there tonight because we'll need that boxcar in the morning. At that point, my parents bought a home it's the largest home on 11th Street between Maple and Pine. It was and he bought that house because it had a huge basement. It was built by one of the, anyway, doesn't make any difference. But because it was like feast or famine. You either had all kinds of stuff to sell or nothing. And you might wonder why my dad was doing that. Well, at the outbreak of World War II, when there wasn't candy and tobacco to sell, the Bos Tobacco and Candy Company went insolvent. And what happened is the different brothers who had different sales territories all went in business for themselves. So my father went in business for himself. That became the Alvin D. Bos Wholesale Company. And my Uncle Gerald took everything east of Holland. My dad had everything south of Holland. My Uncle Bill had everything north of Holland. Okay, now we can have the next slide.
You got a snow shot in there. I don't know if you have a story.
Oh, the family has stories. of some terrible winters in the 30s, where they had, and I don't know how good you can see that, but the snowbanks are higher than that car. And one of the stories that my uncles would tell was them hand shoveling their beer truck through snowbanks because they had to get that truck back to Holland before the beer froze. So anyway, next slide, please. There's my father with one of our trucks. That was a new Ford truck, I'm quite sure. It was green. I remember it. I drove it a lot of times. Inside that truck, and you'll notice that when that says Alvin D. Bos Wholesale. Inside that truck, he had that truck, the box built for the truck. I'm quite sure because all our business was south of Holland, everything we bought had to be as much as possible from south of Holland. So the Ford truck came from Timmerman Ford in Hamilton, and the box was built in Hamilton to my dad's specs, and you could walk up in there, and my dad was a tall guy, so it had plenty of headroom, so you wouldn't bump your head. And on each side, as you walk in the center aisle, would be cupboards. And the thing would open like this, and the thing would come down. And the reason everything was latched up was because you couldn't have stock floating around the truck every time you went around a corner. So the cupboards were 3 high on each side and 2 deep. And there was a place for everything. And when I wasn't in school, I always rode the truck with my dad. And he would go inside, stop at a customer, get the order, come back out, and then I would hop up in the back, and he would read off the order. Moundsbauer candy, so many Winstons, and I knew where everything was. So I could almost grab the stuff without even looking at it. I knew what cupboard it was, I knew where it would be, because everything was always in exactly the same spot. And one of the cupboards, and by the way, the cupboards did not go down to the floor. There was space underneath the cupboards where we kept all the fountain syrups for the drugstores, because everyone had fountain soft drinks, and all the cigarettes, half cartons of cigarettes were kept down there. One of the cupboards, when you opened it up, it had chains on it, so you had a work surface. And in that cupboard was an adding machine. It wasn't that adding machine. It was one very similar to it, almost identical. RCL and adding machine. The original, our adding machine is now in the Holland Museum, actually. So you open up the cupboard, you pull the machine out, and then you total the invoice. And you had to check. My father did not tolerate mistakes very well, so everything had to be checked a couple times, because at the end of the day, things had to check to the penny. And if it didn't, we had to figure out where that penny mistake is. So that is the story on that. Now, next slide, please. After the war, you have to remember that prior to the war and immediately after the war, all the gas stations had this hose over the driveway. And when you drove in, it would ring a bell inside. Bing, bing, as the 2 axles went over the hose. And then the proprietor would come running out, and he would fill your car with gas, wash your windshield, check your oil if you wanted, even if you asked him to, check the pressure in your tires. And if you needed something, you would go in the gas station and help yourself to a candy bar, or a pack of cigarettes, or whatever you needed. And then you came back out and you paid the proprietor for the things you took. Now that worked very well before the war, when everyone knew everybody. But after the war, society became much more mobile. And with that, the honor system started to break down. And so in gas stations, if somebody pilfered a pack of cigarettes, he lost the profitability on that carton of cigarettes. So the gas station owners wanted cigarette machines. And if we did not put the cigarette machine in, we would lose that cigarette business. So to protect our market share, we got into the cigarette machine vending business. And so we had, and at that time, all our equipment, all our vending, was associated for the most part with customers we already had with the wholesale company. So we were placing cigarette and candy machines in gas stations, bars, restaurants, any place that wanted them. And it was really to protect our market share in those fields. And during the winter, I would, when I was a Hope College student, my job on Saturdays was to leave before dawn in a Ford V8 business coupe. I don't know if any of you know what a business coupe is, but back then, John Gronberg's nodding his head, they made business coupes that in place of a back seat was a flat floor, which was flat all the way to the back. It was the same with the trunks full. It went all the way through. And so you could hold a lot of stuff back there. And I would fill it up with cigarettes and candy and go around driving over 100 miles. It took me about 13 hours, filling candy and cigarette machines, and of course repairing them if they weren't working right. That worked pretty well until I graduated from Hope College and started teaching at West Ottawa. With that, we had to hire somebody to run that vending route, because the vending route was separate from the wholesale operation. The wholesale operation was, we used different equipment, different people. So anyway, and we just couldn't find someone to do that economically and perhaps as conscientiously as family would do it. And we analyzed why weren't we making any money with this vending route, and we realized that if you want to increase production, and this whole story is just a matter of how the company transitioned from one thing to another. But we realized that if you really, ideally, in a perfect world, if you want to maximize productivity in a vending operation, you'd want to cut your windshield time, driving time, to an absolute minimum. In other words, in an ideal world, you drive a block away, go into this industrial account, spend a couple hours filling machines, and then drive to the next block, to the next industrial, and spend a couple hours filling machines. You make money while you're filling vending machines. You don't make money when you're driving. So in early 60s, we sold all those street locations out in, actually most of them were in Allegan County, everything south, a little bit the other way. And actually we sold those to my cousin Jerry. If you see vending trucks that say J. Bos on them, that's my cousin Jerry. And he got his start, and we sold him all those street locations out in Allegan County. And we decided to concentrate on industrial and institutional vending. One of our first institutional vending was Holland High School. And earlier you saw the picture of that. Our first industrial account was Holland Color. It doesn't exist anymore. Later on they were picked up by BASF. But that was our first industrial account. And I guess we can go on to the next one.
Next one?
Mm-hmm. Have I left anything out?
No.
That's what he's here for, to
You
make
want
sure.
a drink?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good, thank you. So now we're up to 1980. In this area, the vending operation started growing quite rapidly. By this time, we had liquidated the wholesale operation. The wholesale operation, the bulk of the business, although we sold it, all kinds of accounts, but the volume was with the corner grocery store. And before the advent of the Kroger's and A&P's and Meijer's and the superstores, everyone pretty much depended on a local corner grocery store, a place you could walk to. And as the supermarkets started to come on the scene, the mom and pop grocery stores kind of went by the wayside. And with the demise of the mom and pop grocery stores, the profitability of the wholesale operation was going out the window. The super chain, the A&P's and Kroger's and so on, were buying their cigarettes and tobacco products direct from the manufacturer. and we simply could not compete with that. So we liquidated the wholesale thing in about the mid-1960s, someplace in there, and concentrated just on vending. The vending machine location there, I know that's Herman Miller, and the reason I know that's Herman Miller is because back then, vending machines often had a vinyl front on them that looked like wood. And for the design people at Herman Miller, that was not honest. if it's going to look like wood, it had better be wood. So all their equipment that we put in there had to be refinished. And the blue and the truck, we switched over from the wholesale trucks were green. You'll see it's a picture there of the truck. We changed the color. It still says Alvin D. Bos Company, but now it says vending. And because we were selling coffee and chocolate, I wanted the color of the truck to reflect what we're doing. And so you have that lovely latte colored truck there with if you look carefully, a white roof because you can't have the chocolate melt. So that's to reflect the sun. Also around this time, we started we call the OCS part. OCS stands for Office Coffee Service, not Officer Training School. And you'll see the pour-over unit. Do you have any idea how many pour-over units we have? We own a lot of pour-over units, which we loan to anyone who wants one, as long as you buy the coffee from us and the sundry supplies. And we have one truck that's all they do is deliver coffee day in and day out to offices in the West Michigan area for coffee. The blue thing there, that is an early computer. And if you look carefully, the black thing above the keyboard, there are slots there for 2 floppy disks. And they were really floppy disks. What sometimes people refer to floppy disks today are not floppy disks, they are diskettes. The floppy disk, the reason there's 2 bays for the floppy disk is the computers did not have enough memory to have resident programs in them. So what program do you want? You want to work in word processing? Great. So you put your word processing floppy in there, and then the other would be the data where you kept all your correspondence and all your records of everything you've done. And then if you wanted a spreadsheet, they have to take everything out and find the program for the spreadsheet, and you couldn't do both at the same time. You had to decide what program you want to use, and you could only run one program at a time. Next one, please.
It's going.
Okay.
Did it go 2? No?
Oh, you know, in the 60s, in the early someplace in the I think early 60s, at one time we were on Ottawa Avenue, and then we moved our operation on 22nd Street, just off from Ottawa Avenue, across from where Eclectic Motors is today. Before that, it was Transatlantic. Actually, was located there. That's where they got their start. Then around 1980, we ran out of space. We'd been looking for some time for some more, a place we could relocate the business. And then one day we became aware that the old Holland Motor office building was on the market, and the price was right. I think we bought that the same day it came on the market. And we were located there from about 1980 until 2005 on Central Avenue between 4th Street and 5th Streets. Now it's been made all over into condos. But we bought there about 1980, and there were my parents, the proud new owners of our building I see Paul Elzingham over there, and we had a roof collapse back in 1990, and this was not a good situation. We were just locking up for the night, and the warehouse guy, Brett, still with us, I was locking up, and he heard things cracking. So he went to the north end of the building, and the roof, because the snow load was coming down onto all our step vans, our trucks. And one of our concerns was that there was a huge gas line that came into the building and ran right along the top of that roof. And I was scared to death that as the weight came down, that pipe might rupture. So we quickly shut off the gas, and now we got to figure out that the roof is resting on the truck. So what are we going to do now? So I called Paul Elzinga. He shows up with a couple crews, and this was dangerous work. They had to jack at least take the pressure off the trucks. And then we let the air out of the trucks, the truck tires, so we could get the trucks out. And then we inflated the trucks on the other side. And that whole end of the building had to come down because the walls had bowed out. And anyway, we managed to stay in operation. We did not miss a day. It's just, to me, an amazing story how we kept on operating under extreme, at that time, difficulty. Next slide, please. And I mentioned that this time we're growing quite rapidly. There is an article written up nationally about our operation. Actually, we've been written up in national trade magazines at least twice because of what we were doing. We can go on to the next slide. Also in the 1980s, we changed the logo. We changed the color because as we emphasizing more and more food, we wanted the trucks to look clean, so we switched everything to white. Those trucks, how often are those washed, Tom? we try to keep those trucks clean. I know we have high school kids coming and washing those trucks at night in the middle of winter to make sure they go out the next morning clean. The trucks are kept in a heated warehouse, so they always go out clean in the morning. But that truck, that is an old picture taken from the old facility on Central Avenue. In '05, we moved to where we are now on Garden Avenue. I don't know if you know what Garden Avenue is, but if you're on Lakewood headed towards Zeeland and you cross Waverly Road, just before you get to the railroad track, there is a road that goes off to your left. That's Garden Avenue, and we're back in there. But that's what the fleet looked like back when this picture was taken. And probably sometime in the 80s. I'm thinking late 80s. Yeah.
Oh boy. Is that it?
And that's, well, that only takes us up to about year 2000. Tom's been running the company since before then, and I know he's anxious to tell you all the innovations and stuff we've done since then, and the state of the company now. And if you have any questions when he's done, I'm sure we can entertain those. Do you have anything you'd like to add?
Well done.
Yeah, thank you.
Dad asked me just to give a brief snapshot of where we are today. And we're approximately, we work out of one building at 308 Garden. We have approximately 45 employees. And we have a motto kind of a battle cry of "We make the break."
Is your mic working?
Oh, okay. Do I say that all? I can talk louder.
Well, now you have to say everything you already said.
Hello.
If you want to grab the boom mic, Tom,
Hello.
that might work.
Hello. Okay.
Oops.
Or you
not-
can. Thank you.
You're going to need to pick that up, Tom.
I don't think they're asking me again.
Hello. Test. Here we go. Hello. Hello. All right. Tom. Okay.
You got to turn the other one off.
Got to turn the other one. Now I know how fast it feels.
There you go. Try that.
Okay.
Excellent.
All right. Today, Dad asked me if we had say just a couple things about where we are today. We currently are located at 308 Garden, as Dad said, and we have approximately 45 employees, and our primary business is still vending machine operation. We place the machines, but our motto is we make the break. So our customer base is business and industry, and we place vending machines to provide ready-to-eat foods, beverages, etc. We don't sell any tobacco anymore, which is great with us. We actually have quite an initiative because our customers, it's very important to them for healthier items and etc., which we couldn't stand behind more. But so we have 45 employees. We go as far north as Whitehall now, and we go directly, if you go clockwise, over to Greenville, south to Lowell, all through Grand Rapids, and then south to Kalamazoo, and then over to St. Joe, Benton Harbor. There's a nuclear power plant down there. We take care of them. We're thankful for that opportunity. Holland in West Michigan has been thriving, and that has enabled us to source terrific customers. One of them that has been for years is Hope College, so we're very thankful for that. Still remember pulling up to Collin Hall on 12th Street in front of Collin Hall as a kid, which doesn't exist anymore. So, but our main business is a vending machine. So this is an example of a current site. Things have evolved into a much more glass front, much more convenience store type of shopping. We have the ability to do cashless. And then the beverages, as they've evolved away from some of the sugary drinks, which are still very popular, to waters and teas and other such drinks. So this is one of our locations here north of town at Request Foods. We typically feature a new item every month in our snack machine, so that things are changing and fresh. And then, of course, we have a food program where we menu fresh sandwiches and etc. The newest thing in our industry is, at least in the last 5 years or so, is a self-checkout market. So this would replace vending machines, and you put in cabinets and shelves for your snacks, and regular refrigerators that you can open and grab the product, and you self-scan yourself out at a kiosk. It has to be in the right type of location. You want a fairly closed environment. But we are operating currently 10 of these, 11 of these in the West Michigan market, and we expect this is the wave of the future. It's a fantastic program. We call ours the Garden Avenue Retail Markets, and it's just really cool. You can do lots of things. You can sell lots of different sizes. You can now track you can track your purchases, so when you buy 5 payday candy bars, the 5th or 6th one's free. You just do multiple retailing options that we just don't have available in a vending machine. So this is pretty cool. Very excited about it. Our coffee business, Dad mentioned, the creation in the 70s, Keith Parrott was huge of the Bunn automatic coffee brewer, where you could brew a pot of coffee in a minute or whatever it was, compared to an urn. Really opened up opportunities in a business environment for coffee. So we placed a lot of that coffee, and the business model was formed where you sell the coffee and you place the brewer and maintain it for nothing. So we still do that today. We have multiple locations, roughly 300 customers, and some of those customers, like Hope College, has multiple sites with brewers. So we have a field group that maintains those and is available when they don't work too well. We are distributors still, so we distribute Maxwell House, Folgers, Starbucks, and we also have our own brand of coffee that we've negotiated to have roasted by a local roaster. So our Garden Avenue Cafe Selects coffees are actually our most popular coffees that we sell. So that's a little bit about that. We've had the opportunity to move into a different business segment with our coffee service in the convenience store market with a local company, Merle Boos. And this would be an example of that. So a Merle Boos gas station or convenience store, they have 20-some in the local West Michigan area. We provide the coffee and equipment for that program. If you haven't had it, check it out. And that's a recap real quick on where we are today.
Thank you.
Thank you. What kind of questions do you have, Jeff?
I would, before we end, before we have questions, I would like to express my appreciation, how much we appreciate Hope College, what it brings to this community. How many people here are graduates of Hope College? If you raise your hand, there's several. And I'm not making this up. Yesterday, on my desk was this envelope. And I opened the envelope. It's postmarked Traverse City. And I'm always impressed by the quality of people that, it's not on? Sure. I'm always impressed with the quality of people that graduate from this institution. And so this card that was on my desk yesterday, I opened up the card, a $20 bill. And the card says, it's signed Susan, there's no last name. The card says, I was a college student about 30 years ago in a dormitory that your company serviced. While there, I am ashamed to admit, I stole 2 cookies out of your vending machine. I am truly sorry for this, and I hope that you will accept my apology, and I want to assure Susan that I certainly accept her apology. And the reason I asked how many of you are graduates of Hope, I'm sure there could easily be people in this room who are troubled by a similar conscience. It's not too late.
No, you guys keep that. Mine works. Yeah. So we're going to open up the questions to the audience, and I have questions if we run dry. So Abby Reeg will walk around if you have a hand up.
The building that you were in on Central Avenue, which was Holland Motor,
Yes.
was the Debris Company office before you moved in, right?
That is correct.
I had an office in there.
Yeah, I mentioned we bought that from, that was the old Holland Motor, but actually we bought it from the company that took over Dupre. Chapman, yes. Yes.
Been 25 years.
Yeah.
I noticed on the coffee distribution, you have your own brand of coffee, or it says AD Bos on there, right? Right. Yep. Do you do the packaging of that at your location where you are now? And
We do not.
oh,
We partner with a large roaster, and they private label for us. So they took a brand we had, matched it, and that's how that's done. Yeah. We've thought about maybe roasting, but we haven't done it.
Peg first, and then I'll come back.
They do a really good job, and coffee, as you may know, is a process. Mm-hmm. You gotta let it.
My question has to do with how do you prepare all of the fresh fruit, sandwiches and other foods that need daily operation?
Good question. So our ready-to-eat food program is we source from the folks that do a really, really good job at that. So we get the best salad makers and et cetera, and the food safety requirements which is the top of our focus, is that the food is safe, healthy, is required that we're pretty much outsourcing most of our foods now. So we get multiple deliveries from multiple sources, and we put that together to our menu to be unique to our business. Most of our competitors will single source, and we multi-source. For example, we have a relationship with Russ's. We're putting Russ's sandwiches in our machines. We're multiple sources. So that is a large part of what we do, is creating that variety and ready-to-eat sandwich options for folks, which if I didn't say it before, is variety. Variety is key. We continue to change that menu. We have, like in a snack machine, some staples, but the variety is kept up. So, yep, thank you.
Did you at one time have a facility on the corner of 17th and Central?
17th and Central?
Maybe a little store that you sold things out of? Is that possible?
17th and Central. That, no, no.
I don't know, I was in school.
Would it be Cleveland?
Pardon?
What was the address again?
17th and Central.
What time frame?
It's a candy shop.
That wasn't ours.
This is just a little tongue-in-cheek, but your moderator on the stage has written a book about boating in Holland, and so I'm sure the question he's dying to ask, but out of courtesy won't, is have you thought about a pontoon boat on Lake Makatawa and then calling it Bos's Best Boat Service with food and candy?
You know, it's interesting you bring that up. Because I have another program, and it has nothing to do with the company, but I have done the Great Loop. Do you know what the Great Loop is when you take a, yeah.
Season's too short.
Yeah.
Jeff wouldn't buy enough hot dogs.
Russ, what's your question?
Oh, Mike.
Systems down about as far as you can get in modernization. You thought about franchising your systems outside of your territory?
The question is that we seem to have developed a pretty good system. Have we thought about franchising? And the answer to that question is no. And the reason being, perhaps it's the inverse of that would be that we have had negotiations from different times to different levels of being acquired by a national operation. And it always comes down to what is best for our customers, what is best for our employees, what is best for the family. And we've never seen a possibility of either being acquired or expanding greatly beyond what we feel we can control. We always have emphasized, let's do what we know best and stick to that. And that has served us I think, very well.
Years ago, there was a lady living in Holland by the name of Athalie Clark. And the story she would tell was that she would call in the beer truck to her neighbor's house because he was a strict teetotaler. And then she and all the kids would just laugh as he would come storming out, sputting and sputtering, wondering that beer truck in front of his house. And it might have been yours.
You know, before Prohibition, the family, much of the family lived in Zeeland. And the beer trucks actually were kept in Zeeland. And the interesting thing about that is, recently there's been a big brouhaha in Zeeland about beer and all that. Well, we used to have beer. We used to keep the beer trucks in Zeeland. It wasn't a problem then.
I am so impressed that this is now a third generation, right? Company, third generation? Okay, do you have any future ideas about it becoming a fourth generation?
Nothing's been decided yet, but there has been some discussion. Jeff was gonna, there's potential, yep. Yeah, we currently, if Tom makes sure I stay honest on this, it's just the two of this dad and I. We don't have any other family members there at this time. So there's certainly no one at the moment, but we, one of my children may be interested, so that's exciting. Thank you for asking.
Jeff, did you have questions?
Well, the question to kind of take Tom's lead on that is, there's 4 siblings, or 4 children of Tom and Jane, and Tom J being the oldest. And my question is, were the other 3 ever interested in the company, Tom G?
This is a second marriage for Jane and myself, and so I have 2 boys, and I have a stepdaughter and a stepson. Tom is the eldest and has been very involved in the company. His younger brother, John, is a captain for Delta, and he loves his job. I don't think there's any chance that's ever, and he's well compensated. I don't think there's any chance that he's got his own career. And by the way, I think the family has always encouraged the children to do what they want to do. And that certainly was my case. My older brother is a minister. That's what he wanted to do. And my younger brother is a research physicist, and he just loves doing that. My stepson is in Washington, D.C. He's actually an expert, a research expert on small arms. And he's been interviewed, if you ever hear Matt Schroeder interviewed on NPR or quoted in the Wall Street Journal, or anyway, a lot of the news services, when somebody finds a Stinger missile or so on, they call on him to identify where it was made and how it works and all that, because that's what he knows. And then my stepdaughter is a editor, online editor, in Southern California, and no, she's very happy with what she's doing. She remembers fondly her experiences growing up in the 80 Bos company, because everyone had to work in the company, usually from the ground up. Well, I shouldn't say usually, always.
So Tom J, how?
Just a minute, we got.
Oh,
you've been preempted.
So Tom J, what was the draw for you? I mean, you were in Toledo with your wife working, and was there a pull? Was Tom G on the phone? Was there a need?
There was a need. I knew. I worked. It's what I knew. I worked all the time. So I felt very comfortable at the 80 Bos company, and typically I never technically worked for Dad. I worked for other folks, but it was intriguing. And then I worked somewhere else, and I knew how it really is nice to work with a family business. It's fantastic. So. So there opened up an opportunity for us to come back, which we had hoped to always do. It's just a great area. So when that opportunity arose, that's why we made the move back. That's my story.
And the reason I needed him back in the company was I had an opportunity to be a district governor for Rotary International. That is a full-time job without pay, and it would. So for a couple of years. I had somebody to run the company so I could travel all over the place fulfilling my responsibilities to Rotary International. Tom did such a good job of running the company while I was gone, I never took it back.
Well, Tom, you just answered my question, because my question was going to be, how did the 80 Bos company give you the time to spend all the time you did on Rotary and sailing around the southern half or the eastern half of the United States? But I now know what the answer to that question is. Thanks a lot.
I've been very blessed, because even when I was running the company, the family, because it's always been family owned, has a lot. At one time, I was spending a third of my time on community nonprofits, reading in the schools. I mean, I just love doing that stuff. And the family gave me permission to spend a significant portion of my time in community service. And I don't know if it was punishment or not. But I just love doing that. Yeah.
How did you and Daryl ever get home from that trip to through Canada? You called me and wanted me to fly you home, and I didn't do it. Whatever happened? How did you get home?
Fortunately, my son's a pilot. No, I think the way we got back is, you know, that great loop trip. You know, every day was an adventure, and one of the things was how are we going to get from here to there. Gronberg crewed for me a lot of the time. We were constantly renting cars and flying from here to there. But the trip, Daryl and I found a place where I could rent a car. And I drove the car back, and because I had to get back to my boat. So, you know, I could rent a car, come down here, get parts. That was the problem. We needed parts for the boat. And it's easier to take them across the border by yourself than try to ship it. So we came here. Gronberg sourced the parts for me, had them waiting for me, and turned around, went back with my grandson at that time, David. And we put the boat back together and keep on going. Yeah.
Any other questions?
If I could just thank Mark again. Thank you, Mark, for thinking of us, and Abby, and Jeff. Thank you very much.
You guys have always been really great examples. When I moved to the community in '97, I joined Rotary not too long after that. And if you know Rotary and you know Tom, you're going to be involved quick. I think I was on the polio committee the day of or something, so I did polio committee for many years. And then I've always enjoyed the fact that Tom J helped start the morning to give those working people a chance to be Rotarians but not have to go somewhere at lunch and eat chicken or pork or something.
We actually meet here, and the food is very good.
Yeah. Well, you've moved since I left, so okay. Yeah. But thanks again, both of you, for sharing. Oh, Tabby? Oh, you have presents.
Yeah. We brought a sample of our coffee.
Only one.
No, I think, but for you to grab on your way out if you're interested, and please enjoy that.
And thank you both for coming and sharing your story today. Thank you.